Listeners and viewers, please welcome the host of my guest at this time, Jose Gonzalez.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my guest at this time. The first one of 2025, Jose Gonzalez coming to you live from the new Content Creation studio behind us. Of course, my guest isn't physically here with me, but I figured we have a new year. What better way to kick it off than with an old friend that's kind of had a new leg of their wrestling journey. They've done damn near everything. They've done podcasting, they've done music videos, they've done commentary. They're technically undefeated in-ring action. Let's see, they've worked with several Hall of Famers. Let's see. Am I forgetting anything? They also reported that Alicia Fox quit on the app.
Oh, God!
I didn't have that on the list, so I'm glad I brought it up now. Give it up for Chris Riddle, everybody. Chris.
About time! Thanks for having me, Jose.
Well, to be fair, not to expose your shit and everything, too, you're saying, like, no, don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. I'm retired.
Well, that anymore. Didn't age well.
I mean, I didn't age well. What are you talking about?
I don't even, so for those that don't me personally know, the retirement joke has been, what, a gimmick for probably close to a decade at this point.
Probably
at least 2016, right? Yeah. So I don't even try to claim it at this point because it's just like I've literally had people like signed come to me and go, I can curse, right? Yeah, you're not fucking retired.
No, we're just really tired, but I mean, I'm so glad that you're on first one of the year. It's nice to actually have an interview when we're not doing predictions because I forgot just how much shit you've done over the course of 15 years?
That makes two of us.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't come prepared for this, I would have been what kind of reporter am I?
I mean, I feel like as close as we are, if there was going to be a person that I, did kind of like the not that I personally think I'm worthy of a career retrospective, but if we were going to have
we all agree that it would have been LJ.
No, I'm not saying that. You've known me for longer. Maybe you guys can handle maybe you could handle first half. She can handle second half.
True. So what, pre-COVID Riddle, post-COVID Riddle?
Yeah, exactly. That would probably be about the time frame, right?
Yeah, I mean that's. Actually, no, it is kind of the time.
Yeah, that would be the perfect time frame, actually. There you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wouldn't be us if we didn't start on a tangent, but I mean, let's get into it from the very, very beginning. So,
by the way, guys, for those listening and watching this, I'm scared because I didn't get a pre-screening on these questions.
I also wouldn't do some gotcha journalism shit, though. So, yeah,
I would actually love if you did. It'd throw me for a loop and see how I would answer it. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that.
I think I cleared one question, and then the rest is just kind of whatever the hell happened.
Which really, I'm not opposed to whatever you want to ask. It doesn't bother me.
Lovely. So, I mean, obviously, people know you from not only having your digital presence for doing various radio shows, talk shows, podcasts, as well as your love of wrestling. What kind of came first, the wrestling or the radio?
The wrestling when I was 5, and actually, the radio came along when I was stuck in a period where I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling.
See, I figured there was some sort of gateway from one to the other. So
yeah, there was a 3-year period where my parents, justifiably, Christopher started trying to practice wrestling moves, and I was banned from watching for 3 years. So when I came back, Trish was feuding with Mickie James, and Lita was a heel, and I was all sort of confused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I mean, did Gail Kim hit the Gail Kim DDT by then?
No, this is way before. That's number 1 on the bingo if you're taking track, folks. But
yeah, oh yeah, we should have made a bingo board for this. Damn.
Yeah.
How many inside
Divas bingo? But no, wrestling came along about 99, 2000, and radio came along about 2005. So 20 years ago now. Ugh.
Yeah, 2005 being 20 years ago is weird considering I started watching wrestling in 2005. So I mean, you had the perfect timing because you got to see the good parts of the Attitude Era. You got to see after the invasion. So early standout wrestling memory that's just oh no, I need to keep watching this.
The one I always go back to, and I've told her about this, is Lita beating Stephanie McMahon in the main event of Raw. That one always stands out because I was a little Lita and Hardy Boys mark as a kid. Speaking of invasion, Trish winning her first championship was my first pay-per-view.
Hey.
So that one sticks out. The first wrestling memory I ever have is the Road Dogg making his entrance from '99. I want to say it was the King of the Ring pre-show on Sunday Night Heat. This is a very specific memory. You would never ever expect that. But I remember getting Stone Cold and The Rock action figures for Christmas that year. And then by the next year, I was just obsessed. Like, it was all wrestling related stuff all the time, basically.
I mean, that tells you that you're a wrestling fan if your first fucking memory is X-Pac making his way to the ring on Heat.
Oh, Road Dogg.
Oh, Road Dogg. See, wrong member of DX. I'm so sorry.
You were close enough, tag team partner. But
you know, if I had a nickel for every time that I'm going to mess something up on this interview, someone keep a tab.
It could have even been like Tori with one R or something. Like,
okay, at least we moved on from Tori with
one eye. Yeah. So I also specifically remember. So obviously, still to this day, I love me some wrestling collectibles. So this would have been before you were watching. They had in 2000 they had this thing called Attitude Points, where it was almost like box tops in a way. Like, you would collect different figures and you would save up the little points from the boxes, mail them in. And I specifically remember waiting every day for the first ever Lita action figure.
Oh, wow.
And it was from the S.A. Rios era, so she had like these thick ass like heels too. But I specifically remember waiting every day. Here's how you know that me and you were meant to be friends. I was watching the Kathy Mitchell Turbo Cooker infomercial when I remember the mail arriving and receiving. I can tell you exactly where I was at 6 years old.
Damn.
So it was always women's wrestling from the start.
Man, God.
Except for that Road Dogg incident.
Well, I mean, aside from the Road Dogg incident, we'll go with that. I mean, so as obviously you got older, you being a millennial like I am, mid-90s millennial, you grew up alongside the internet. So where did the IWC kind of get sprinkled in to little Christopher?
A little bit of news sites and stuff before I had to stop watching in 2003. So that was around the time of like, you could refresh news pages and get like live rolling coverage of pay-per-views you weren't watching.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously by the time I come back in 2006, it's like full on, you know, there's different, that's kind of the time that podcasts started in general, 2005, 2006. So you've got that going on a little bit. And then Twitter, I was on in like 2007. Like, if you go back now, actually, I think Hang 'em High tweeted me about it last year.
Damn.
It was like, because there was this thing that went semi-viral of like me from early 2008 going, there's no way that John Cena will be back in time for the Rumble, da-da-da-da-da. And people found it last year from early 2008. So from the very beginning, Twitter was a thing. I refuse to call it anything else until this day.
Oh no, yeah, it's always going to be Twitter.
But I was there pretty early on for at least the social media era of it, different message boards and stuff like that. You may have seen me around some parts under the youthful username of Chris the Crusher. I don't know if you know about that, actually.
Crusher. I don't know about that.
Chris the Crusher on certain online radio show forums. But yeah, I was there from the beginning, probably breaking a lot of terms of service of how old I was.
No, I think Twitter, you had to be 13. So if we're talking,
I was not, some of these was before 13. Some of these was like 11 and 12. Yeah. Like, then the big thing at the time too was did you ever watch any of the action figure YouTube shows?
Yes.
I did that too. Like JDS Full Metal and Rated WWE and this one and that one.
I told you the Rated WWE story I had, right?
No, I don't think you did.
It kind of has to do with one of the figures I got you over the years. So for those that don't know, Rated WWE used to do like really good stop motion, a lot of women's wrestling for the stop motion stuff. And he was having a diva search. So I'm at Walmart one day and I see a Jillian Hall action figure. So I grabbed that and like some acrylic paint and I'm like, you know what? I'll turn my sister into a custom. And I
don't remember this story.
I failed miserably at like painting it up and everything too. I had a potted envelope. I was going to send it over. And then like right when I was getting ready to, I think Rated WWE ended up taking a hiatus. And then I don't know what happened to the channel because it's gone now.
I was never able to pull off the customs.
I mean, I wasn't able to either, but it wasn't going to stop me. I was a dumb 12-year-old just like, you know what? Why not?
I specifically remember having a Tori Wilson action figure that I called Chrissy Vane. But other than that, I could never pull off the customs.
Yeah, I couldn't pull off the customs. I couldn't pull off doing actual stop motion myself because I couldn't
no.
like cut the frames down like past like shorter than a second. So, ooh.
This is around the time that I started getting into slideshows and then music videos. So I guess that kind of took precedent, and I was like, I'm not dealing with all this. And there was already people out there that were much better than I would have been at attempting it. So.
Yeah, and I feel like the stop motion like appeal just kind of died down. Like,
yeah, it was around the time
making, like SmackDown versus Raw stuff with like actual cause.
Yeah.
Although it's funny enough that you kind of brought up the radio forms, because the next question I had in here, because I mean, we talk about the years that you spent away from wrestling. Somehow, some way, not only did you break the terms of service, you became a big fan of one Mr. Howard Stern.
Oh yeah, definitely. In the not so much now, because he could put anybody to sleep. But
right. Well, I'm just saying, like, at that time, how do you find something like so adult, so risque as like your gateway into like wanting to be a talk show host on the air?
I swear, I still say to this day that the first podcast I did, which has been scrubbed from the internet, was a combination of like a adolescent Howard Stern, basically what we could get away with, and still, I mean, adolescent themed Howard Stern. We weren't going on there having,
Yeah, there was no Sibian.
Yeah, exactly.
Pitchforks down.
So, if you think about it, it probably goes back kind of to the wrestling thing. I came back a child of the Attitude Era, so to speak, and then the background of doing different radio shows and podcasts and stuff like that. And it's, when you think about it, it's kind of a natural fit that if I'm into radio, I would gravitate towards something that's kind of more on the provocative end, because that's the background of what I've kind of watched. But yeah, it was around the time that like it was a big YouTube base of people uploading different stuff and stuff like that. So kind of something to listen to. That actually probably got more prevalent later on though than around this time frame.
Okay.
So that's more of a time frame of people are uploading long montages, and it's something to fall asleep to, and it's kind of in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you fall asleep to Howard Stern now for different reasons, so it's kind of funny, but
unintentionally.
Yeah, I mean, you've never been one to just go for subtlety. I mean, you could have said, like, I got my first start listening to Delilah every week on her syndicated.
I still love Delilah. Delilah's still in the air. Yeah.
I'm just so used to you, like, going straight for, like, the jugular with the out of left field shit. Sometimes it's like, oh, there is a wholesomeness.
Every once in a while, I'll pop some sort of reference that has absolutely nothing to do with women's wrestling, like a mid-90s ECW reference, and everybody will be like, Riddle watches other things? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people from way back in the day are well aware of the things that you were watching, because you kind of drew inspo from that, the wrestling world, the infomercial world, into a little production you called Riddle Me This.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Speaking of things scrubbed from the internet.
Well, not even just the fact that it was scrubbed from the internet. It's you at a young age, but also it's the fact that you had so many regular castmates alongside you. So where does young Christopher not only get the idea for a sketch podcast, but also getting so many people to become regular contributors to it?
So let me start out by saying it was not planned on being a sketch podcast. So there's two different variations of Riddle Me This. So there's the variation of Riddle Me This that started on a website called TalkShoe in 2007, 2008. So that, I think we were doing shows literally every night, and it's just like a variety podcast. So there ended up being something crazy like 300 plus episodes.
My God.
Yes. Yeah. And then that took a break because that just got too off the wall. And then a lot of those regular people that became friends, not only that, I grew up, and this was during the time that I was away from wrestling when that radio spell kind of started, listening to this is how long ago this was, folks. There used to be this little internet service called AOL, and they had a kids version called KOL, and they had this show called Radio KOL that I constantly called into, and for its time, it was actually they didn't talk down to kids. It was a kids radio show, but it wasn't Radio Disney. It would be like top 40 music, like clean versions of everything.
Okay.
but it would be top 40 music, skits, calls, and this and that. So when that ended in 2007, I was friends. That's how I met Chaz and Matt and several different people that you know, Jose. And this has been literally, this year is 20 years ago at this point. So that kind of morphed into Chaz was doing his own show, and then me and Matt started doing Riddle Me This, and that morphed into stuff for years. And then I would take a break from Riddle Me This, and Riddle Me This would come back in a different form. And I think what you're referring to is the last version of it we did that somehow ended up being a sketch comedy podcast. Where
it would be the first podcast of yours to transform into something of that nature.
No, and if you think about it, because I'm sure you're going to ask about that, if you think about it, really, the genesis for that, which I'm sure we'll get to, was this version of Riddle Me This, where Dixie Carter would call in, or China would call in, or on this one, before she was a heel in real life, Paula Dean and Wilford Brimley were the management, or you would have, Paul Heyman was the cheap heel. Paul Heyman and Mike Adamle. Like, we just had these friends that had all sorts of characters, and I'm still friends with a lot of them to this day. Every once in a while, it's under lock and key where to find it, but if I need a laugh, I'll still go back and listen to it, because it's a fully produced wrestling show with no wrestling. So it's like literally to the point where we're having a podcast with entrances, and it flows. And it works. And it's the damnedest. It's like an audio wrestling version of Mad TV, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things just like on paper, nobody would fucking understand it. But the people that.
And then when you listen to it, it makes complete sense.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like going along with that, things that kind of make complete sense was not only you having that early podcast presence, but you kind of danced around when you were starting to learn to edit a little bit. But very early on, one of the earliest, I would say, creators when it came to wrestling music videos, at least that I can recall. So, like, when did you discover, like, you kind of had a knack for video editing, or you wanted to have a knack for video editing?
So it was right around that time frame of when I was talking about the action figure stuff. So, like, 07, 08. And I would start off by doing slideshows, and God, a lot of my early stuff was just god awful. And this is around the time frame that, like, the diva music video makers were like a big community type of thing, and we would all talk on MSN back when that was still a thing. And like, man, the internet was not that it is now, but the internet was not a nice place to me back then.
Is it bad that I kind of feel like the internet was nicer back then?
It was, but to me personally, it was not a nice place back then. And man, I would get reamed for some stuff, and justifiably sometimes. Man, that was baptism by fire in a lot of ways back then. But you know, you kind of grow, and I was self-taught, so it really was baptism by fire. I never took any training in school. The only training I ever had was on a complete program, and this is in college. And by the time we reach college, you know, half the stuff that we're going to talk about is already done.
Yeah.
So yeah, 07, 08, I was dog shit. Still to this day, it's like, I'll go back and watch some of that stuff, and like, how did I release this on the internet?
I mean, you kind of put your foot in the door somewhere, because I mean, we're getting right into it now. So I mean, you have the podcast presence, you have the music video presence, and then you somehow find your way over to Diva Dirt. So I mean, was it where you started out just popping into Diva Dirt Live, or when did you actually like join the site full on?
It was that, yeah, when Diva Dirt Live had the chat room and everything like that on a weekly basis. And then I had a couple friends there, and I had been trying a couple times, and it just never worked out. But yeah, 2013, it was right when Melanie was kind of transitioning out as editor-in-chief, and Aaron, who I'm still friends with to this day, was kind of coming in, and I had kind of been brought on to do some social media. And then Trish's Hall of Fame induction happened, and that kind of opened the door for me to put something together for that. They had a whole celebration they called Trish Day, the day of her induction. So we had a big Hall of Fame video package for that. And then by summer, we're doing a full-time video series that I'm putting together hype videos each month. Then podcast start, and it ended up being 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's another reference.
Out on a bus, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of references, Magic Impact, famous Diva Dirt live tweeter, I actually was wondering, like, what goes into making the storyline for the hype videos and everything. So, like, down to the music and everything. I'm sure it was easier when it was like for a monthly pay-per-view and they gave you the match, but like,
no, exact opposite. Because sorry to cut you off, there were no storylines.
Yeah, this is 2013. We're talking.
There were no storylines, and that's when creatively it was the most hard pressed to put something together. Because no offense to these girls, but when Caitlyn defending the Divas title against Tamina, and this was before I did hype videos. But
how did I know that was going to be the one that you say?
Is announced 6 days before a pay-per-view or whatever it is, and there's no angle. What are you supposed to put together for a hype video? When Brie Bella's facing Natalya at SummerSlam, and they're only having a match because they're on the same reality show. What are you supposed to put together for a hype video? So that's kind of when creativity comes in, and it's like, I'll give you an example now. I put something together for Toni Storm and Mariah May back in August at All In because I had never done an AEW hype video, and just the angle between these two was and still is so good that I'm like, I got to put something together for this. And it was so damn easy compared to how it used to be, because you've got a full track record now of, all right, they did this. Ooh, this goes good here. It's easy to put something like that together. But no, back in the day it was. And then music is actually a harder selection than you would think, because sometimes you change your mind. You've how many ideas have I run past you over the years? Like, hey, do you like this or this?
Because I think my thing is always like, do you find the song first or do you find the story first?
Yep. And then sometimes the two of those things don't go together. Or you have a song in mind, the story takes a turn. If you've got 3 weeks and you've got a weekly program where they're doing something different each week, maybe week 2 or week 3, they're doing something completely different than week 1. And it's like, oh, well, this doesn't fit as much now as it used to. So it's a process. It's a process all the way up until that video's saved. Stuff gets switched around sometimes.
God, I never really realized just like how much you had to pull from a hat. Like, a figurative hat, obviously, because they didn't really give you anything at the time. Because you're doing this literally on a monthly basis, sometimes multiple times in the month, depending on if TNA had a show too. Because you were doing WWE and TNA, and then I think did you guys ever do one for like the Indies at all?
I had a couple things. I had a couple things in the works. I think I was going to do one for Shine, just like a Shine hype video type thing, but it never manifested. Oh, I did. Jessica Havoc and Mercedes Martinez, I think I did something for.
Yeah, I feel like I remembered like a non-televised one. I'm like, what was it?
I think I did that. I mean, there's a non-televised one that's no longer up. That's my most popular video. But I think that no, I don't have a problem talking about that. YouTube just removed it.
Well, yeah, no, that was taken out after Million. The match that almost happened.
Yeah, which is still hilarious to me. But no, I think there was a Mercedes Jessica Havoc one. I want to say it was like a W. It was around the time of the Machete.
Oh yeah, because they were doing that War Games match.
I don't know if it was even a Diva Dirt one or I just did it to do it.
I don't know. Someone let us know in the comments.
I'll go back and check on that once we're off the air. But I think that may have been just to do it.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it was definitely something that I could see you doing just because we were also at that era. It's like, okay, TNA is going through a rough spot. WWE is being WWE. It really kind of was that era of the indie girls that was kind of keeping the wrestling part afloat with women's wrestling.
Which is funny because my first 2 hype videos are Last Knockout Standing and Payback 2013.
Yeah, so like when we were getting Prime storylines.
Right. And then it dips after,
I mean, but it does also kind of get us into when you would really become like really a weekly fixture on Diva Dirt. So we already had the Diva Dirt hype series that we're talking about, but you have Jake, and Aaron coming together for, at the time, the Total Divas after show.
Which you had to remind me of before we started. I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, because I think you guys got screeners from E, if I remember correctly.
Oh, God, yeah, we did for the first episode. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that little ditty transformed into what people would eventually remember as Diva Dirt Weekly. So, in true Chris Riddle fashion, a podcast that starts on the straight and narrow, suddenly turns into something that becomes more and more chaotic by the week to the point
Poor
where
Aaron. Poor Aaron.
and I feel like this was something where you guys didn't really clue Aaron into when it was going to happen. It just happened and she was yes-anding you.
We had a group chat. We cleared it. But the thing was, a lot of that shit that happened just happened in real time, so we didn't have a chance to clear it.
I'm trying to think, like, was it like when did the craziness happen? Because I mean, you have like such iconic moments as the evening gown heel turn. I mean, Caitlyn retiring in 2014. I'm trying to think of like where like it really started to grow the legs into the wackiness that people remember.
I don't remember if I don't think there was ever a specific, hey, we're gonna do this. But I think just gradually as we would discuss segments and they were comedical and we would impersonate people. And by impersonate people, I mean me and Jake. Aaron never impersonated people. She was the straight man editor-in-chief, thank God, because I don't know.
For some reason, she got booked to face Dana Brooke at TakeOver Brooklyn.
Yeah, without her knowledge. That was a skit. But I think eventually, just for my Riddle Me This background and Jake doing impersonations of people on the show, it just kind of morphed into different things.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, for Jake was always doing China. He did Terry Runnels, he did Deborah, he did Ivory, you did Nicole Bass, you did Dixie Carter.
It had to start with the Layla traffic monitor thing, right? Because that was around the time that the show started.
Because I mean, Stop became a running bit, and then of course the iconic Nancy Grace somehow stumbling her way into the wrestling world. Yeah.
It's not the same if I do them while on camera.
This is true. Kind of, it's like the Wizard of Oz thing. Like, look at the man behind the curtain. Yeah. Is there an impression that like you think is your favorite from like?
Oh, Dixie. Dixie.
The fact that Dixie's still in some ways
if you know where to find her, Dixie still exists to this day, darling. Yeah. Like Dixie, and that's over 10 years now. Yeah. That's and here's the thing that I tell people that. My Dixie Carter impression has nothing to do with actual Dixie Carter. It's just that at this point, it's just this character that has. It's how I described it to somebody the other day, and I cannot believe that I didn't come to this realization before. It's just my Dixie using a Dixie Carter E-Fed icon. That's all it is at this point.
Yeah, that is pretty spot on.
Yeah. So it's like it's Dixie Carter in base, but that's about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like it's just its own like AU version of Dixie Carter. And
my bucket list, though, I absolutely want to get a photo with the real Dixie Carter if she ever does a convention or something. And
I don't know how the hell that hasn't.
I don't know either. I don't know, but it's like I already know the caption's going to be when Dixie met Dixie. Like I already have the whole thing planned in my head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not even just like the funny bits that you guys did with Diva Dirt. I mean, you guys actually had like real big moments to cover.
Yeah.
In 3 or 4 weeks from the time that this goes up, it'll be 10 years since hashtag #GiveDivasAChance. I want to know what you remember from like that day that the 30-second match happened, just kind of that whole week of covering it, and then looking back a decade later. So
I specifically remember this ground. By the way, the reason I was doing this is because I realized I have to go sign up for my AARP card after this. I specifically remember there being a groundswell kind of that week because the Bellas were at a Comic-Con. I can't remember if it was San Diego. And it was right after that really good 4-way between the 4 horsewomen. Was it Art Evolution? I forget which takeover.
Yeah, it was Arrival.
Yeah. So, and the Bellas were kind of talking about like how they were getting like 2 minutes and like these girls get to come out and have 20 minutes. Like, why can't not shitting on the 4 horsewomen, but like, why can't the main roster have 20 minutes like the NXT girls are doing? So there was kind of this groundswell already going on. I think I had kind of done a hype video around it for Paige and Nikki. And then it was the night after the Elimination Chamber or Fastlane. Yeah. Whatever the February pay-per-view was that year. And then that 30-second match happened, and I'm just seeing people tweet, "Give Divas a chance, give Divas a chance, give Divas a chance." I remember.
I think Lorraine's might be the
Lorraine. Yeah, that's who I was about to mention. Yeah, because I always want to give her credit for it. There was a hashtag a couple years prior, give the WWE Divas a chance, that was very similar, that Shirley had kind of had a background with. But I just kind of texted Aaron and I was like, hey, everybody's tweeting this. Is it okay if I post it? So Diva Dirt account, which at the time's the only verified wrestling website on Twitter, over 100,000 followers, just tweets hashtag give divas a chance. Nothing else, no context, nothing added to it. 3 days later, it was like...
It was the #1 trend for 24 hours worldwide.
Yeah, and this is when trends were actually measured on volume, too.
Yeah, like a true worldwide trend, like not just like country localization, how it is now. It's just
so...
oh, God.
And by no means will I ever try to claim we were the first ones to tweet it. I will say there was a lot of traction after we did, though. Do I think
you guys gave it the extra shove?
Do I think that groundswell would have still happened that night? Yes, but it needed a rocket boost. So that's where we came in.
And that's also after you guys tweeted, you have the talent tweeting it too.
Yep. Yeah. So that was the oh shit, everything's about to change moment.
Yeah, and the whole like Stephanie McMahon having that moment with Patricia Arquette talking about like feminism, and then AJ Lee kind of clocking her for
that was a fun night
of WWE women at the time. Oh God! Speaking of things that could happen 10 years later, who knows?
That was a fun night because when we're talking about all this Diva Dirt stuff, I'm also the social media person for most of the shows. So not only are we recording on Monday nights, I'm doing the hype videos, but every Monday during Raw, any little thing that happens on the show that's women-centric, I'm basically doing live Twitter play-by-play for. That's probably how I bounced into another industry very well later on.
Yeah, because I remember at the time I was in college and working at Walgreens, if there was like something going on and I was working the night shift, I would follow the Diva Dirt account and actually get like true play-by-play commentary and 140 characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tells you how long ago it was. 140 characters.
Yeah. So there were some very fun Monday nights for many different reasons.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, so we're a decade moved on. So we've had the Divas Championship retired. We bring back the WWE Women's Championship. We have a brand split.
On our last day at Diva Dirt, by the way.
Oh, yeah, no, that's actually getting into one of the next questions, but I kind of just want to go through everything now that we're seeing it. So we have 2 Women's World Championships. This year, on the end of last year, we have 2 mid-card championships with the Women's U.S. Championship and the Women's Intercontinental Championship, which, again, shout out to them actually mentioning China when they crowned the finals for the IC title tournament, which I feel like is actually very important. And in this day and age, it's still nice to see her get credit in some way, shape, or form. We have the resurrection of the Women's Tag Team Championship. Obviously, NXT had the women's title at the time. They had the NXT Women's Tag titles for a hot second until they unified them, but they have the North American Championship now. We have a Queen of the Ring now. We have the Royal Rumble now. We have Money in the Bank now. Let's see. We have the Speed Championship now, but it's just kind of like we went from literally 1 title to upwards of almost 10. And that's not including the matches that are the first time. It's just the accomplishments. Which is...
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, and then, like, I mean, did you ever think it would get to that point? Or was it just kind of a matter of it's going to happen when it's supposed to happen?
I was happy when they got 1 pay-per-view main event. That was like the crowning when they had Hell in a Cell.
2 WrestleMania main events.
Yeah.
How can I forget?
When they had the Hell in a Cell, I thought that was like we couldn't get any higher than that.
Yeah, and that was just me with a bowl watching the program, But
yeah.
But I mean, you kind of mentioned that, like how at your era of Diva Dirt coming to an end, the weekend of WrestleMania 32, obviously all that kind of shift happened after that final episode of Diva Dirt Weekly goes on. So like, did it feel like you had like a poetic justice to kind of like the way that you were exiting the site, knowing like that's the moment of the change?
Yeah, we had found out that the women's title was coming back and they were getting rid of the Diva moniker. I got a text that Wednesday before WrestleMania on that Sunday. And we already knew that we were going into that weekend and announcing that was Aaron had texted us deciding she was going to step down, and there was a group of us that had decided it was the same time to do so. And we already knew what we were going into that weekend. And we also already knew that it was Breeze, what would turn out to be her last full-time weekend. And obviously the Bellas had been a big part of that 3-year chapter for us in terms of that era that we were at Diva Dirt. So it all felt really poetic at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you also went from having so many things going on, like on a weekly basis, sometimes a daily basis, to like a little bit of a lull. I mean, we would see you kind of pop up here and there with other podcast stuff.
And I graduated college at the same time too.
Yeah. I mean, let's not forget the fact that you have a media production degree.
Yeah.
I mean, you go from that, you kind of have like little pop-ups here with Jake and Aaron with the Agenda podcast. You had a little bit of time with Squared Circle Sirens alongside me and the late great Casey Michael. May he rest in peace. But like, kind of like, did it feel like you still had a little bit more to give, and that's why you were kind of doing those like one-offs or like the monthly podcasts at the time?
Yeah, because a lot of the times this was during that period we were just talking about where the girls were getting their first this, the first that, and it was like, all right, if I'm gonna put something out there, I want it to be for something special, because I wasn't doing those monthly. The first year or so it was really just to play around. I knew when the women got the Hell in a Cell that I wanted to do something, or like the SmackDown girls were getting their title. Like there were certain things I wanted to do, but I was just kind of taking my time with it more for fun and putting something out there when I wanted to. But when the girls would get like a big moment, that was something where I'm like, all right. And there was discussions with you where it's like, do I want to do something for this? Do I want to come back for this? Evolution was a big one. The Rumble was a big one.
Yeah. God, I didn't even think about Evolution or the Rumble, because like, I mean, I go to 2018 in the questions, but I just completely blanked on the fact that we had an all women's pay-per-view. I mean, the way that they're
and the only one. Moving on.
I thought the chicken was lovely.
Did anybody try the chicken? I thought the chicken was lovely.
I mean, but you know what else was lovely is that, I mean, we kind of mentioned this. Your live tweeting kind of turns into a little trip to the Sportatorium where somehow, some way, you become a play-by-play commentator for CWF Mid-Atlantic in 2018 on their Twitch streams every week. So, did you pursue the commentary, or did the commentary pursue you?
I pursued the commentary. Okay. We had friends that had kind of dabbled into it, and I'll be honest with you, I looked at it and have been like, damn, I want to try that out. Like, I feel like I can learn how to do this. So I went to Amber Gertner, whose other half, Jeff Rudd, was one of the owners at CWF, along with Danny Winkle, and I was like, you guys be interested in having me come in and kind of learn how to do this? Because I knew in this area at the time that was, if I wanted to try it out, that would be the place that's the place I felt safest to go and try it out, where like people would have my back and be honest with me. And Lord, did I not know all that it would turn into at the time? But no, I absolutely approached them. And it was the first show I was at was Trevor Lee's last night in the company, actually. And for those that know CWF, Trevor Lee was like basically the John Cena of that company for years and years and years.
Yeah, because that was right before he went to NXT, right?
Yep, exactly. So that was like his literal either last or second to last show.
God, yeah, if that tells you anything about the timeline, we actually are a lot further away from it than we were close to.
Don't remind me, AARP card.
Oh, God. I mean, speaking of AARP cards, because we're going to get into 2019 because it also involves someone else in retirement. So let's go through the list of everything that you were doing this year. So let's see. Okay. You are doing commentary at CWF. Mm-hmm. The first incarnation of the Golden Era podcast is born. That would being the Retroactive show. Obviously, Jake and Joey are doing a phenomenal job.
And doing a great job now. Yeah, absolutely.
Weekly. You also somehow managed to make a music video.
Credit to them. I never, ever, ever could have done a weekly format with that. So well done, fellas.
And that's really gotten its own life of its own. I mean, they've done phenomenal things. I'm so happy for them. But kind of going back to that, you also have the music video that you make for Trish Stratus coming out of her retirement to face Charlotte at SummerSlam that year. And then the
sorry to interrupt. You want a cool fact on that one?
Oh, go for it.
That one was done in a day. I don't know if you've ever known that. You're talking about the SummerSlam one, right?
Yep.
That one was done in a day.
You bastard.
Yeah. I don't know how. I have never pulled that off before and never will again.
No, and then the Pace de la Resistance, you're doing all of that and somehow enter a storyline with one good friend of ours, Con O'Kelly.
Butter Hall of Famer, Con O'Kelly.
Yeah, so when... obviously you're juggling commentary in the podcast, the music video thing, like those are all things that we know Chris Riddle for. Where the hell did working a program come in?
That was never the idea. The idea was always for Khan to manage a girl, because Khan has become a fantastic in-ring competitor now, but he was known as a manager at the time. For Khan to manage a girl versus me representing a girl, maybe us to get into a cat fight on the outside or something like that. And then probably around August or so, I was brought to like, hey, we can get you through a match, we think. I'm like, have you lost your fucking mind? Like, no.
So the match was really never your idea at all.
No.
Wow.
I think maybe a mixed tag at the most was discussed. But no, my idea was like, I'll take a chair shot on the outside or something. Like,
well, I mean, you didn't take a chair shot on the outside, but I remember vividly there was a segment in the ring where you guys, let's see, you were taking a few things. So there was an arm wrestling contest, which led to you getting a big boot.
Yep.
And then there was a time where Conor Kelly had, gave you the good old Lita DDT.
You want a story on that one real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
That wasn't the original spot.
What was it?
Original spot was a pedigree. I practiced during the day. My first bump was a pedigree. And the boys got to the building and said, oh, hell no, you are not doing that. And I remember Kamikaze Kid looking at me while we were practicing, and I spiked myself and going, well, shit, if you were going to do that, you could have at least done it on TV. Like,
wait, so you took like that one, like the old like 95 bump where like
unintentionally. Yeah. So then then management was like, well, just take a stunner. And I'm like, everybody takes a stunner. I don't want to take a stunner. I'm like, because the whole idea, you can probably tell by the theme of things, it's like it's women's, it's like diva moves, right? So like China's pedigree, Lita's DDT. And I'm like, get me through the DDT, right? So Jeff gives me a DDT because he was the trainer there. I'm all good on that one. I'm breaking total fourth wall here. Sorry, guys. So I'd already spiked myself on the pedigree, and it's absolutely nothing Khan did. It was all on me.
And the irony is that you didn't spike yourself on the DDT.
I didn't to Jeff. I did on the air. No. Actually, I think I did when Jeff gave me one. Again, it was all on me because I spiked myself accidentally. Nothing the people giving the moves did. And then I want to say the one on TV on Twitch, I did not. Either that or the other way around. But I spiked myself twice that day. And
does the Twitch clip still exists?
I don't know if the Twitch clip does, but I have them.
Okay.
But I know Khan re-uploaded some of them on his channel. But I have them for the music videos. I specifically remember 2 days later texting Mia Yim and being like, how do I get out of bed? Because I had never... And still to this day, everybody will be like, what the hell do you mean your first bumps were a pedigree and a DDT? And I'll be like, the promoters were not at the building. They never would have allowed that if they knew. Like,
so I found the clip.
The boot is the best thing I take.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a clip of the boot too, but I mean, let me see if it'll let me, hold on. Well, let me download landscape version. Yes. Did it do it as an MP4? God bless. Okay. No, we're going to have to get this in here because I need to play this, because for the folks that do not know that Chris Riddle was a worker, and I will give him credit because I mean, anybody that's willing to put their body on the line for the sake of putting their body on the line, no, you're a worker to me. I'm sorry.
Funny thing is, a lot of people don't know how close that match was to not happening.
I remember the chaos that was ensuing with Will It Won't It.
Yeah,
because there were multiple iterations of the match, but we are gonna pull up the clip from 2019. We have CWF Mid-Atlantic. Let's go out to the ring.
This was a.
Watch out!
It's 5
Chris,
minutes alone with
watch
Blondie.
out!
That's a legendary
Big Dom's got
Amber
Chris
Gertner
Riddle right now.
Yep.
Backed up in the corner. Conor Kelly.
Thank God for
we
Conor
might get that
Kelly,
extra
because I
5
have
minutes,
no clue
but
what I'm doing here.
It won't be to the favor of Chris Riddle. Doesn't look like it at all. Connor Kelly setting him up for something? What is going
Never
on?
about forearm shiver.
We need to get some referees out here or something and get this cleared away from ringside. What is he?
Connor Kelly with a
yourself.
DDT?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
damn.
I
Must
say,
have been the
Connor
TV
Kelly
one.
at least has some.
I mean, but the point being is that you definitely got physical.
If I was gonna do it, I wasn't gonna half-ass it. And could not bump to save my life, did not know what I was doing in there, would never claim to be a worker, do not want to be called a worker, but I got through it, and that's all thanks to Con, let me assure you.
Yeah, I mean, we also think about the fact that, I mean, we will get into it. So what ends up being the final CWF Mid-Atlantic show, Battlecade for 2019, there is an 8-person tag match. So it is Connor Kelly.
I don't even know who all was, yeah.
So it's Connor Kelly, the members of Bit Don, and a very young Ella Envy.
Four-time NWA Women's Tag Team Champion Ella Envy.
Free agent now. Good for you,
Yeah.
girl. Against Chris Riddle.
Firestar Women's Champion Ella Envy. Let me
The current Firestar Women's Champion, yes. Longest reigning yet? I mean, she also, she was going off on Amira Rose, if we're being honest.
No, she's got 2 or 3 years before she's longest reigning. Come on.
Okay. I mean, you never know. But
Amira had 740 some odd days. Anyways.
Oh, okay, good. So going against the team of Chris Riddle, we have the returning for one night at the time, Chastity Taylor.
Who had not had a match in...
What, 4 years?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years at that time. That was who was going to represent me originally with the idea. Because the whole idea was, Con and I, CWF did not have any women on the roster at the time. And this is 2019 at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, that's the big blow-off we want to have. I represent a girl and Con represents a girl. My girl will be Chastity, and this is before Ella had started training. If we knew we could have got Ella for the blow-off, we probably still would have. Which by the time Ella had started training, it was we had to do the blow-off of me and Con.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was Chastity was going to represent me. So when it came time, it was absolutely Chastity has to be involved in this. And when we knew it was going to be the final CWF show, she was raised in that building. Absolutely. She had to be a part of it.
Yeah, because it was you, Chastity, and I'm trying to think who else were your partners too. Because
God. TKO, I remember. Michael McAllister, I think.
Yeah. I'm going to look this up. Is it on Cage Match?
I am not listed on Cage Match, and it pisses me off. I will never claim to be a worker, but I'll have you know that I have a better in-ring record than The Undertaker does at WrestleMania, okay? Not at WrestleMania, you know what I mean.
1, it is Michael McAllister. 2, it's listed as a 4-on-3 Andy.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's not even right. And then the whole deal is if I won that, which my team did, thanks to Chastity, I would get 5 minutes alone with Connor Kelly, which is also not listed on Cage Match.
Yeah, damn, double homicide. Yeah, because you look at all workers, there's no Chris Riddle.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, that would be accurate.
Well, also, how is Connor Kelly listed here, but he doesn't have a Cage Match profile now? What?
That's some bullshit. He's been on GCW.
I know, which we will also get into, because don't
Yes.
Godly. So, we have that match. The build up to the match also I want to highlight because you kind of pulled in all the reinforcements. So I don't count myself.
And that's your one promo in wrestling history so far.
To date, knock on wood.
Yeah.
So it was a promo, y'all.
Man, you did good, but I pulled in the Brooke Adams sent something in. Celeste, sent something in graciously. Chrissy Vane had actually managed the members of Con's team before, so she sent something in as a heel, which I loved because that way it wasn't just all the girls repping me. Yeah, Trish Stratus had promoted it.
Connor Kelly invaded the golden era.
Yeah, we pulled out every trick in the book for that one, man.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're gonna have like one moment, you guys went full gusto, and I
knew like this is never gonna happen again. Little did we know my health situation would get worse, but like I knew at that time that it was never gonna happen again. So like, why not? It had never been planned to happen in the first place. Like,
that is kind of like the Chris Riddle way. It's just kind of like. Yes, and we'll go with it. Whatever happens, happens. But, let's pause on the wrestling for a little bit because, you're more than a wrestling friend to me. You are a full friend to me. And something
as opposed to a half friend. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thankfully you're tall enough to not be a half friend. I have some other friends that are only half height friends, but I mean, we got to talk about
The
not only
opinions
are
of
you.
Jose Gonzalez are not
No.
necessarily those of Chris Riddle nor his employees.
I mean, can I say it for the one time, or can we not say it because you guys are good now?
I don't even know who you're.
Oh, I can't tell them to send their complaints to. Do I have to bleep it out?
I mean, I don't care. I don't
Send them to at
talk to her.
Holler for the one time. If you know, you know.
I don't speak to her.
Well, I'm not saying y'all are like good Judies, but respectful. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, screw that. Anyways,
good for her.
yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah, she looked great on Impact 1000. Okay. Anyways, pause in the wrestling talk for a moment. You are someone that I would consider quite culinary versed. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's my hobby outside of wrestling. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, where did the love for cooking come from?
During that time frame that I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling. That kind of, and my mother's Italian. Like it just.
I mean,
came
you
out.
grew up around food.
I was homeschooled. I watched a lot of Food Network during my off time.
Mm-hmm.
As me and you have discussed before, it was just natural for that to be my hobby. Besides, you know what? That time after CWF was the time that I started posting more of my cooking stuff and putting it up more on social media.
You know, yeah, that was a good point actually too, because I feel like people always like kind of forget, like, oh yeah, no, like he'll post like dinner for the day and just like a bunch of different stuff. So I mean, kind of like we go into that. You're also someone that kind of got me on this whole like food passport kind of thing when it comes to travel.
Yeah,
because you have an affinity for the regional fast food establishment.
Yeah. I think one of the questions you got mentioned that actually.
Yeah, DS from Ring the Bell. Hi, DS. He mentioned White Castle in specific, but I'm gonna go full stage here. Out of all the fast food establishments and all the quick service stops you've had, what do you think are like your top rankings for the ones that you've had?
Just in general or out of town? Because you know what my number one answer is always going to be.
Well, I mean, it's considered regional because I don't have it here. Say it.
Okay, so for those that don't have a Cookout, I'm sorry that you're having a rough time in life. Cookout is this fast food restaurant that started here in North Carolina, where the big thing, number one, they have 40 flavors of milkshakes. Number two, well, Jose, describe what a Cookout tray is for your listeners.
So Cookout, bless their hearts, I've not had it in almost 4 years, and it pains me to this day. They have such an assortment of menu items that you could get on a tray. So, I mean, you have like your burgers, you have your chicken sandwiches, you have your tenders.
And they're char grilled too.
Yeah. Your hot dogs. You could also have literally almost any entree as a side on the tray. And I believe we get 2 sides plus the entree plus a drink.
Yep, or you can double up. Yeah. And you can upgrade to a milkshake for an additional charge too.
Is it still under $10?
It's right at it now. Is it under 10? Yeah. But see, I upgrade stuff, so mine's right at 10. But
Dang.
I think it's like $7.99 for just the tray.
I was gonna say,
which is still, with inflation. Yeah, with inflation though, it's still the best deal you're gonna get.
Yeah, I mean, aside from like if you go on like the Taco Bell app and you do like the build your own box for $6, but I mean, Taco Bell's everywhere. That don't count. But Cookout definitely is in there.
In-N-Out was shit in Vegas, but delicious in WeHo.
In-N-Out was good in Denver too, but those fries after 3 minutes,
gotta get them animal style.
I did. They still turned to cardboard.
Light well animal style. The White Castle situation. My mother grew up in New Jersey, would always go to White Castle if it was up there. She would get the chicken ring. She don't even like the burgers. Anytime I'm out of town, I like the frozen ones. Anytime I'm out of town, I like to get White Castle because I don't have it here. If I had a White Castle here, I'm sure I wouldn't give a shit about going to White Castle. Here's the reason DS thinks I'm obsessed with White Castle. Oh. Every time I've seen DS somewhere has been somewhere with a White Castle in town, and I want to make sure to get White Castle.
Damn, I didn't even think about
People give me so much shit for wanting White Castle's trash.
Was there a White Castle in Philly and I missed it?
Oh yeah, there's absolutely White Castles up there. I don't.
You know what? It's okay because
there's definitely ones over the line in New Jersey.
But you know why it's okay? Because I had Jollibee instead.
Yeah, Con got Jollibee delivered. Yeah.
Oh, fucking good.
Yeah. Right. So they don't have. So I don't eat dark meat chicken, and I think they only have legs and thighs there. So I didn't get anything.
You know, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah, I got some. I just don't like the texture of it.
I mean, they had Wingstop and everything, though.
Yeah, we have Wingstop here now.
Yeah, we finally just opened a Wingstop
Yeah.
here.
We had one on the other side of town, but we finally got one on my side of town.
Oh, that's good. So, I mean, there was also Wawa. I finally had.
Oh, I love it. I had it in Florida last year for the Rumble. And I like their turkey subs better than Sheets, and I am a big Sheets person.
Yeah, the only thing I ever got from Sheets was just like a drink. Like, and I think that was like on the way to the airport. I never got.
Sheets has very good food, but so does Wawa. But Wawa has different things than Sheets. You know, that's a big debate between people. I like them both for different things.
Do you still have 7-Eleven down there?
Very rarely. My partner has a 7-Eleven in his town that they just opened up.
I hate how much I love their mini tacos and their pizza.
I've never had any food from 7-Eleven. I've just had drinks. So
it's a good cheap date. That's all I'm saying. No, but like that's always good. I mean, Mighty Taco we have here, but it's nothing special.
You've told me about Mighty Taco, and Jose has actually sent me some buffalo delicacies before.
Yeah, back when like buffalo in a box wasn't like $100, and I could send him like actual like Loganberry.
Loganberry was fucking delicious.
The Chevette's chicken marinade.
Oh, that was delicious. The coffee.
Oh yeah, Tim Hortons coffee.
Yeah, Tim Hortons. That I got a coffee maker just for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say because the one trip I took to North Carolina in 2021, I ended up buying Chris a coffee maker. So I'm like, oh shit, he doesn't have a way to make the coffee.
Yeah.
So.
Now I could talk besides wrestling. I could talk about food all day. Of course, I have to mention my obscure YouTube playlist called "I'm Weird" that has 700 different instructional videos and infomercials and cooking videos and the like.
Over under 350 of them being Kathy Mitchell.
Well, she doesn't have that many products, unfortunately.
Okay. I mean, a few dozen at least.
Yeah. I do have Kathy Mitchell cookbooks in the home now. Did I tell you I have a cookbook shelf now?
Oh, yeah, you did. Because didn't you get, was it like the dump recipes?
Yeah. And then I got the $40 a day cookbook, which were finally available on YouTube. And let's see, I got Martha Stewart. I've got Renee Paquette's cookbook signed on there.
I have Renee's Getting Messy in the Kitchen as well.
Renee's cookbook is one of the best I've ever. That's probably the cookbook I've made the most recipes for. I wish she would do another one. Yeah.
My favorite part of that cookbook was the quest to find all dressed chips in the States, because right as the book came out, Ruffles stopped making them in the States.
You know, Lay's does them now, right? Did I send that to you?
Well, I mean, like, yeah, I've seen them, but like, I mean, Aldi had them like here and there, but I mean,
the Aldi ones were good. I had the Aldi ones.
Yeah, I mean, I'm close enough to where like, if I really wanted all dressed chips, I could just pay the little extra fee and get them.
See, my thing is, I want the real thing. I want the Ruffles, Ridges, all dressed up chips.
And the good thing is that according to Veda Scott and Speedball Mike Bailey, they do taste pretty much the same between Canada and the U.S. So whichever one you find, get the real
I should have asked Veda about that a couple months ago.
Yeah, no, they had a YouTube video on their channel. I watched it. It was actually quite.
I love when they do food reviews on their vlog.
It's always like American versus Canadian stuff, because like it's the perk of him. I mean, you have both citizenships on both sides of the marriage. Yeah. I mean, might as well. But something else that you could talk to probably about ad nauseum aside from wrestling and food. You grew up a Tekken fan like I did.
Yep. Yeah. That was one of the things I got into during the wrestling band too.
Okay. So favorite game
Tekken
and
4.
favorite character.
Favorite game? 4's not widely liked, but I just like the aesthetic. Oh, Tekken Tag 1. We're not talking just mainline. We're talking anything.
Because mine is Tag 2.
Yeah, Tag 1 and Tag 2. Just because they're fun and you get the biggest roster. 4 and 5 I like. Yeah. 6 I did not like.
Really?
7 was great.
Loved 6.
7 and 8 I've not touched as much. I'm sorry because I think you gave it to me, but 8
I didn't actually.
Did you? I feel like you did.
No.
Yo, you got me the Xbox, so I could.
Although the irony is that I have also not touched Tekken 8 nearly as much as I wanted to.
So, and it's like, as we're recording this, today's the year anniversary of it, and I've like barely touched it because
I have an anniversary stream and I canceled it.
Because of my health situations with this arm, that is the only game I play that my hand cramps.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, it's one of those things because I mean, it's such a fast reacting like game. So like squeezing a controller, I don't know. I mean, I got lucky over the years that I somehow stumbled across, like, did I tell you about how I conned someone on Facebook Marketplace? Well, I didn't con them out of an arcade stick, but like how like I saw that they were severely underselling it. And then I'm like,
Buy it, add $20 to it so they feel better about it, and then just buy
Oh,
it.
no. I didn't even do that. So it's like a fucking $400 Victrix one. Like he's doing like Amazon pallet returns. He's like, yeah, no, like my son got it for his PlayStation, doesn't like it anymore, so I'm just gonna take $100 for it. It was like, I don't even know if
Somebody
it works.
didn't research before they put things up.
So and this is on my birthday 2 years ago, so it's raining. I go with my laptop at the time. I have Tekken 7 on the laptop. I plug it in. The joystick at the time, I didn't realize because it was a detachable one, like how to get it in there firmly. The fucking thing worked perfectly. He's like, damn, I wish I knew it worked or else I would have charged a lot more for that. I'm like, yeah, well, it's a good thing we agreed on cash and I have the 100 right here. So, yeah. Oh, God. Shout out to Scam Goddess, Lacey Mosley, the podcast, the show now on Freeform. Just reminder, always tell people your scams after the fact because we don't want to fuck up your bag.
Like if you find, obviously I don't collect a ton now just because of funds, but like you got a text the other day, I found the original Mickey James action figure.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to find it mint in box.
At a local, they have that in Don Marie. So, the store I go to, they actually research before they put stuff up.
Yeah.
So, $75, which is right up there with the most I've ever paid for an action figure. But luckily they do trade-ins. Yeah. I had a lot of stuff I needed to get rid of that was just kind of collecting dust around here. Yeah. That's just not being displayed or whatever. But I was like, grab that now because you're never going to see it again if you don't find a way to get it type of thing.
Yeah. And it also worked out as like just in time for your birthday too. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Damn, I forgot to make a feel me button. Did you hear it?
I almost referenced that when you said something about it being on your birthday when you were testing the arcade stick. Damn,
2 missed opportunities. But I mean, all things aside, I mean, we have all the wrestling stuff, the gaming stuff, the food stuff. I mean, I'm sure they know now, but I mean, we kind of dance around it. Obviously, you've had renal failure pretty much your whole life, and obviously being on dialysis going on 4 years this year. So, I mean...
God, don't remind me.
Yeah, I mean, like, so obviously...
4 years feels like 12.
But I feel like people really just don't understand, like, the physical toll, like, something like that can take on you, especially when you're battling it in your mid-20s and early 30s. So, like, kind of like, what's something they wish people kind of understood a little bit more about that kind of disease?
That it's very much for the most part an invisible disease. Like you can't really there'll be days that I can go around shopping and be fit. Now I get tired out more quickly and can't eat that much and have to go home and rest. But it's very much day by day. Like one day you can be feeling good, the next day you can feel awful. So basically I had a condition called FSGS, which causes scarring of the kidney since I was 3. And over the years, right as the pandemic was really bad, it started ramping up. And they have something called a GFR, which is like an overall scale of your kidney function. And I was working for PepsiCo at the time, work from home, had just started feeling awful all the time. And went to the doctor because my supervisor, God bless her, was actually like, go to the doctor. I don't care how much time you take off work. Like, go something. Like, I know your medical history because I had told her about it. Like, go get checked. My GFR was a 14 out of 100. So it was like, all right, we're going to have to put a fistula in your arm so you can get dialysis. And eventually you're going to have to start dialysis and get on the transplant list. And I kind of, I'll be honest with you, tried to delay dialysis as long as I could because that kind of affects your quality of life. And I have been on there every Monday, Wednesday, Friday ever since, bright and early every other day. So that's why you kind of saw me take a break from wrestling stuff for a while on and off. And it's a struggle. I'm still on the transplant list. I know you said you were going to put the link, but you can go to twitter.com/Chris Riddle for more information. And it's completely free. Megan Moran at WWE has helped me out a lot, getting the information out there a lot. Mia Yim, Trish Stratus, Natalia. Like there was a GoFundMe that a ton of women's wrestlers contributed to and still do to this day, almost 5 years later, which I cannot thank them enough for that. There's a lot of people that if I have a problem, I can just call and they're like, what do you need? So God bless them. But it's a struggle. It is. It's a struggle. It's a financial struggle. I had to quit working and it's a catch-22 because I've talked to you about this before where there are occasional situations where I get to go do stuff And then just because of the connections I've been so lucky to make, and people will go, well, he looks okay to me. And it's like, no, you can't see what I'm going through. So it is a day-by-day process. I think eventually, in terms of getting in-center dialysis 3 times a week, you have to learn eventually just to treat it like it's your day job. It's like, all right, I have to go do this from this time to this time, and then I get off work at this time, and I can focus on this. There have been days where I have been working on paid projects because for those that don't know, you have to have your arm like this the whole time, where they, not to get too graphic, basically filter all the blood in and out of your body so they can clean your blood, because when your kidneys stop working, the toxins do not filter out of your system like they're supposed to. Yeah. And you start retaining fluid too. So there have been days where I've been working on projects with one good arm in a dialysis chair. So it has been it's a humbling experience, I can tell you that. But it is something that could hopefully change tomorrow, but we had some progress last year, and then it ended up not working out. So it's just a wait and see. I've been on the transplant list for at least 3 years now. It may be getting closer to 4 at this point. I know I hit 3 years of dialysis in September. So yeah, it'll be just about 4 on the transplant list.
Yeah, and then I always wondered, like, with the list, like, is there a way that you can kind of see, like, where you are, like, in the list? Okay, it's just kind of, you're on there.
Yeah, I have people ask me that a lot. There's not. I know I got hooked up through Megan Morant for WWE with National Kidney Registry, NKR, and they are very good at having, like, alternate ways you can go through things, and are a little more proactive about telling you what you can do. But no, there's not a formal way of knowing where you are in the list. Unfortunately, I would love to know. Like, I would just love to have to. And again, it's a condition I've had since I was 3, and we don't know where it came from. So it's like I've had this lifelong journey, and I've never had any answers on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you kind of get so much strength just from having to deal with it that people really take for granted. I mean, the fact that you have that physical toll on you day to day, and then somehow, some way, you're still finding a way to not only still create, like, stuff with music videos and other stuff, still appearing on, like, different social platforms, streaming here and there when you were doing it on Twitch for a little bit, but also, it was around 2023, that Thanksgiving, you ended up getting a call to do Effie's Big Gay Thanksgiving Russell Cade weekend.
Still crazy to me, yeah.
Out of the fucking blue.
Yeah, it was like I had not called a show, I think, since right after CWF had closed. I think I did one.
Yeah, I think you did ring announcing at Queens of Combat for a little bit.
Yeah,
that might have been it.
Yeah, that was fun. But God,
wait,
I missed that.
Side note, like, did you always want to ring announce, or did it just kind of like it was presented to you as an option?
That was presented to me. No, I've always been more in the commentary ring. Ring announcing is more nerve-wracking because you've got to get in and out of the ring, which I've never been great at, for somebody that had a match. But and it's just you're in front of everybody, and it just commentary, you're kind of at a table in your headset and you're talking to the audience at home, and yes, you've got people listening to everything you say if you're live, but ring announcing was nerve-wracking for some reason. From what I was told, I was decent at it, but it wasn't, that was presented to me, and I'm like, hell yeah, let's try it.
All right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Queens of Combat no longer operating, but you kind of see like
Maddie Max has been Queens of Combat champion for years now.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Chelsea Green still technically one of the tag champions?
No, I think the who?
Did the Renegades beat? Oh, no.
I think the Renegades won on the last show. I can't remember.
Okay. All I remember is Tasha Steele's in a steel cage, and then
yes, that was like the second to last show, I think.
And then a year later, Faye Jackson finally gets her Gray Sweatpants Battle Royal.
Yes.
The most iconic match in pro wrestling.
So, I love me some Faye. So,
the most iconic Twitter spaces in pro wrestling.
Yes, absolutely. And there should not have been another Twitter space for any occasion after that. Maybe the ones that involve our friend Sean, but that's about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, he knows all about spaces these days.
Yeah. So he had sent me a happy birthday text last week, and I'm like, thank you for thinking of me right after you murdered somebody live on the internet. I appreciate it. But anyways,
probably had a walking taco from the cookout.
No, our cookout, Sean was here.
No, his cookout, because he has one in Kentucky.
Yeah. He went to the one cookout in Winston-Salem that does not have walking tacos, by the way. And I was like, I was at Firestar at the time. We were doing a late night show and was like, did you guys not consult me before? Anyways, as far as speaking of things I went to Cookout afterwards, I got a text a couple days beforehand from my friends at Superjaw Productions who was doing the Effie show going, hey, we recommended you for this. And I'm like, I've not called a show in years and you want me to go call an Effie show?
On Fight?
Okay, sure. Why not? Yeah, live on Fight. Live on, it's Thriller.
Well, it's Thriller now,
was it
but
still
yeah.
Fight? Yeah. I still just say Fight half the time, to be honest with you.
I mean, one syllable. Why not?
So yeah, that was a nerve-wracking experience, and I very much went into that thinking, all right, this is a one-shot deal. You finally get, because like I said, CWF had kind of shut down unexpectedly, and I had done a couple things since then, but Queens had kind of shut down unexpectedly. So, and I think you knew that I kind of had an inkling to get back into it around that time, but so I'm going in. The way I dressed and everything was like, all right, this is a one-shot deal. Like, I had brought my now partner to the show. Like, this is a big Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. Yeah. So to get me away from a dinner table on Thanksgiving is a big deal alone, as you know. So I was like, this is a one-shot deal. Make the most of it. Like, just enjoy yourself. Had a hell of a time. Little did I know, 2 months later, pretty sure you're getting to this next.
Yeah, you more or less got, well, I wouldn't say it got flued out. You found a way to get there, but...
well, I was already going.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, the phone rang again. Royal Rumble weekend, Tampa, Florida.
Well, the Twitter DM rang.
Yeah.
But...
the UF message came through.
Yeah, I was... actually, again, one of those situations where some friends had intervened and was like, I'd always wanted to go to a Rumble. Several people knew that, including our friend Jennifer, and was like, hey, what do we need to do to make this happen? It was on my bucket list to see a Rumble. So I was going to go. I was going to stay with, or did stay with our friend Con O'Kelly, and who ended up on the show as well.
Yeah.
And then a week of, I get a text from Effie going, hey, Veda and Val are both not going to be able to make this show. Do you want to do it? Since you did good on the last one, like, we trust you to do it. With Nick Gage. And I was like, Bahamada, what? He's like, yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, which is also ironic, because normally on commentary, you're the quote-unquote straight man.
Yeah.
And now here you are doing commentary with the straight man.
And I had a great time, and, you know, that was the full-on GCW experience with Brett there. And
Nick Gage, bless his heart, was having the time of his life. He was being super respectful of everybody on the show, because obviously being a big gay show, he didn't want to step on anybody's toes.
He asked everybody their pronouns ahead of time. Like, he was an absolute gem. But what I did not know, and I had actually had for my notes, because I'm a note taker, had everybody else for Nick in the notes too. What I did not know is that Nick was going to sub commentary partners on me pretty much every match. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not familiar with the GCW roster.
Oh, yeah, because you had, I think Alec Price was in there for a moment. You had,
and it's funny because now I know a year later, it's names that I absolutely should have known, but I'm also stressed out at the time because I'm doing commentary for the second time in 3 years, within 2 months of each other, live on pay-per-view. And it's like, now I'll sit there and look at social, and still to this day, I'm like, God, how did I not know Roddy and Alec?
Well, I think it's also just like you were so kind of removed from like keeping up with the indies like on a regular basis. I mean, can you also confirm nor deny the rumor, or it wasn't a rumor, that the current TNA Knockout World Champion Masha Slamovich made her way over to the booth?
Yes, yeah, and she was thrown onto commentary. I talked to her about this at WrestleCade. I'm like, I don't know if you remember me, but we did commentary together in January. And she was siding with Jordan, and she's like, oh God, Nick just told me to get on commentary. Like, I had no clue what I was doing.
And also, they had a hell of a 2 out of 3 falls match at Turning Point at WrestleCade this year. If you guys go back on TNA Plus to find it.
Yes, I still need to go watch that actually, because I was somewhere else that night and have not got to see it yet to this day.
Just know it's pile drivers as far as the eye can see, and you would have loved it.
So that was one hell of a, that was one where I'm really glad I did it, and everybody was as kind as could be, don't get me wrong. But when it was over, I was like, I survived that, because that was baptism by fire, man, let me tell you. When we finally got to the main event, and it was me and Billy Dixon on commentary, who I've known for close to a decade in one role of another.
Also a Diva Dirt alumnus.
Yes, and I'm calling MXM versus Bussy. I'm like, all right, I got this. And
But also what
a
main event that was.
And Mason's also purposely doing a summer crush, and I'm like, all right, I'm in my element now. All right, we got this, we're good.
Well, I mean, MXM are divas.
Yeah, and I'm
Whether
so glad
they are divas.
They were sweethearts, by the way, going over things with me.
So, I mean, obviously you have Masha Slamovich forgetting that she was on commentary with you. But I mean,
not her fault. That was a chaotic day.
Hey, 2024 was a hell of a year for Masha. Considering the fact we just saw her in NXT, she's still the Knockouts World Champion after a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match. I mean, I don't know who her next challenger is going to be. I mean, we'll probably see. Obviously, they have.
I do know who her next challenger is.
I mean, I know who it is too.
I'm very, very happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, would you consider her next challenger a CPF?
I'd consider her a cannibal.
Well, I mean, speaking of eating things, in the main event of that big gay brunch, I mean, we got to talk about the fact that Bussy was going against MXM, and one of your old friends from Diva Dirt actually made their way to commentary with you with Billy Dixon.
That was very nice. That was the most relaxed I was that entire show, I believe.
Yeah. And also, when else am I ever going to make a segue to eating Bussy on a broadcast ever again?
Especially with me.
Yeah, you know, I mean, as strange as our conversations we've had, that was not that strange at all, actually.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, that was a very cool full circle moment. I've been lucky enough to have a lot of those.
Yeah, and I mean, you also think about like that obviously would open up some more doors to the point where now you are a regular contributor on the commentary booth to Firestar Pro Wrestling in North Carolina, also Jewels of Wrestling, because they're their sister company. So how does it feel kind of being full-time? Can I say full-time as a commentator again, even though it's really just a home promotion?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am the play-by-play commentator for Firestar Pro Wrestling.
Good. Yeah. But I mean, like the regularity, because I don't know if it's like bi-weekly shows, weekly shows, but I mean, you have been killing it.
Yeah. So they had announced a Jewels of Wrestling show, and I reached out and was like, hey, believe it or not, I've actually never got to commentate a all-women show before. Would you be interested in having me? And by the time by the time that Jewels show had went to intermission, there was a word that had gotten around to the owner of, we need to bring him in for everything. And it has just kind of snowballed from there, where now I have various roles that I am helping out with, helpfully so. And that's probably been my strongest work, at least on commentary, to be honest with you, because I am more driven than ever. Now, it has been a lot to balance with the dialysis situation and this and that. And Kevin Pierce, my commentary partner, has been the most phenomenal help I could ask for, as well as LeBron Cozone and everybody on the Super Jaw Productions team, respectfully. But if that's, tell you what, I never would have thought, oh yeah, you're going to be back full time doing something. Probably on a just as much of a schedule as CWF. I know there was a couple weeks ago that we had like 3 shows back to back to back different weeks. So it kind of depends on the month. But yeah, it's been probably the most fun I've ever had, I would say.
Oh, I mean, it's also not every day that you end up doing commentary for someone that would become a top prospect for WWE on their socials either. Obviously, Jackson Drake being a WWE ID prospect.
Jackson likes to give me hell sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's all as long as you've known the damn kid. I mean, like, you've seen almost every iteration of Jackson Drake there is, I'm sure.
Jackson likes to give me hell sometimes. Jackson can be a jackass.
Well, I mean, it is in the name, but I mean,
he's not very nice to my friend Kevin Pierce.
Yeah, no, that's something he could work on this year. Yeah. I mean, speaking of things to work on this year, kind of close things out, goals, anything you want to manifest in 2025 as we get ready to approach month 2.
Well, there may be some stuff out there that's debuting as we record this. I don't know. I've always wanted to travel to Australia virtually. You know, it is almost WrestleMania season. You never know what videos may pop up or who may be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. And if she's lost her mind, then maybe there may have to be a video tribute for that. But on a serious note, I've been lucky to be granted a role to help behind the scenes with the Firestar women's division. We're definitely trying to make big moves when it comes to that, especially in February, March, April, June, and July. I'm really excited for some of the things we've got coming up. I'm really proud of the work that women like Amira Rose and Leah Knight and Amanda Kiss have been doing. We talked earlier about the Firestar Women's Champion, Ella Envy. She's coming back soon. We've got some big names that I haven't even told you about yet that are coming in very soon. Our friend Emily J's been coming in soon. Brittany Jade. So it's a really fun time. I'm getting to kind of use some of that creativity that I talked about in a different way. And we kind of talked about how I've been so lucky to work with women of the past and all the Hall of Famers and Trish and Lita and Mia and obviously Mia being the current and all these different names. And it's really cool now to kind of get help with the future and use my talents in that way to kind of give them hey, have you thought about this? Or what if we did this? Or what if we went in this direction? It's like, oh, I've never thought about that before. And to get somebody invested in that actually has a background in it and know that they actually care about women's wrestling like I do, and that it's been my life, and I actually have a vested interest in seeing them succeed.
Yeah, no, and I feel like thinking about all the different iterations of women's wrestling promotions that we've seen over the years come and go, like a Queens of Combat, like a Shimmer, it's really nice to see such a hungry group of girls that are willing to put in the work, seeing a team that's willing to back them to make sure that their work is showcased to the best of their abilities. I feel like I have full faith in whatever you guys are going to be doing with Jules moving forward, even incorporating into the Firestar program more. I feel like you're finally hitting your stride doing something where it's not only just getting to put the girls over on a commentary way, not just in like a video package way, but really using all of your
still doing those things as well.
Yeah, not just, but just really going full throttle and really helping them like, no, let's make a program out of this. Like, let's really get everybody invested the way that I know I would have been invested as a spectator. So kudos to you for navigating everything that you do, regardless.
I don't know how I do sometimes, quite frankly. I think at this point it's just instinct.
I mean, hell, there are days where I can't even navigate my feet out of my bed. So, I mean, kudos.
Well, you saw me yesterday. I texted Jose and was like, I cannot get out of bed today, just so you know. So.
And I have no damn excuse because I'm not hooked up to a machine nearly as often or at all compared to you. So thank you for not only putting up with your own chaotic shit, but for putting up with me for all these years because I'm proud to call you a good friend of mine. So thank you, my friend.
It's very cool. One more thing I wanted to say about that. It's very funny because at this point, the girls I'm working with, you'll ask them, who was your favorite wrestler growing up? And they give me names that I worked with at the Diva Dirt era. And it's like, oh God, I'm getting up there, aren't I?
Yeah, I think it's hit us that the days of the millennial are becoming what the Gen X days were to us.
Yeah, but hey, it like I said, it's very cool because now I'm passing that knowledge on that was taught to me onto the next generation in a way.
Yeah, I mean, God, I just think about us with the back in my day. We were lucky to see women not have a match where their clothes weren't coming off. I mean,
and now we have mid-card titles.
Yeah, and now we have a segment where a woman takes her clothes off and she's revealed that she's been playing herself as an actor for the whole time. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Loved that, by the way.
But I mean, thank you guys for being here for this long one. I mean, I had to do it justice. He's had so much going on over the years that we kind of needed to go through every little nook and cranny. I mean, anything else you want to plug before we get ready to head out, Chris?
Well, twitter.com/Chris Riddle. You can find all my socials, link to commissions and projects, and my kidney information on there. If you're interested in being tested to become a kidney donor, that's kind of the main spot to go to. I'm on Blue Sky. I think I can't even remember. I think it may be Chris Riddle 94 on there, but if not, it's Chris Riddle. Same on Instagram and whatever social media that hasn't pissed me off this week. And
shit.
Yeah. You can search for FSPW Network on YouTube to keep up with everything going on there. And that's everything I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure I can forgetting something. I'm sure we could easily probably do a part 2 sometime down the line to cover stuff, my friend. So
yeah, that'll probably just be later this year of how much he has going on. You never know. I mean, I keep it easy for you guys. JoseOnTheAir.com has your links for everything. Right now, it's really just X and Blue Sky, YouTube and Twitch, because Mark Zuckerberg, you're on my shit list. And I'm just waiting for one to get more followers than the other, and then I can move Muskie over to that shit list as well.
I'm just waiting back till we can go back to ICQ.
Yeah. Did you know that ICQ shut down at the beginning of the year?
They were still up?
Yeah.
The beginning of this year? Like
yeah,
within
it was
the last
beginning
month?
of this year or the end of last year. We're going to fact check this live on the tape delay.
You know, maybe I did hear that it was shutting down at the end of 2023 because everyone went, it's still up.
Was
Elizabeth, take it down. It's still up.
ICQ shut down on June 26, 2024. My 29th birthday.
Leave the memories alone.
I killed ICQ on my birthday.
Hey, Jose, did you know you killed ICQ on your birthday?
No, but I know that this Saturday is going to be a busy Saturday when you guys see this. So at 3 p.m. on our local establishment, myself, Auntie Collins, my sister, Bianca Gonzalez joining us again for another episode of the Mother Tuck and Post Show, where we talk RuPaul's Drag Race Season 17. Yes, I do more than wrestling, but don't you worry, because right after that, we're doing my first ever live watch along for WWE Royal Rumble on my Twitch. And after that, we go back to our local establishment for the Royal Rumble Post Show. Give me all the caffeine you can afford at Jose on the Air.
And he's got number 26 in the Rumble pool.
Yeah, my favorite number. I mean, 26 has not produced a winner yet. You never know.
You never know. I never would have expected number 3 to produce a winner. So,
especially the year after number 1 produced a winner.
Yeah. So I don't put it past any number. That's my favorite show of the year. I like that more than Mania because of the unpredictability.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's truly like the one time a year where I try to kayfabe everything. I genuinely don't really know anything this year. I can only guess from like things I've seen, but also that kind of made it easy this year because we didn't really get a build for the Women's Royal Rumble, so...
We didn't say everything is perfect, folks.
No. It's really just NXT, SmackDown, and no, I can't even say TNA anymore. But I mean, on that note, I will see you guys when we see you. So take care and enjoy whatever it is that you're going to be doing after this. So bye, everybody.